MegaKirb, the name of the channel you're currently watching this video on. Isn't that so crazy? Originally, it was a name that I had come up with during the summer between 5th and 6th grade. So I was just about to turn 11? Yeah. Prior to that, I was known as Megaman's awesomeness. We don't have to talk about 10-year-old me's naming schemes. They weren't great. After a few tries, I'd come up with the name MegaKirb28. And honestly, this was simply done because I liked Mega Man and Kirby at the time, and I thought MegaKirb sounded cool, so fuck it, right? Fortunately, almost 6 years later, after coming up with this name, my liking for these two franchises hasn't died down. Who would have thought? But what does all this have to do with the video? I came here to watch some Mega Man gameplay. You're probably thinking, or not. I don't know what goes on in your head. Considering my liking for the franchises, I've been wanting to do a video on them for quite some time. So why not have it be now? Mega Man X4 is a game unlike the last one I talked about. It's fairly old, releasing in 1997. And I say old, but it's old for a video game, not for a person, so pipe down, you adults. The game follows the titular Mega Man X and Zero along their two similar but ultimately different storylines throughout the game, coming together to release on the original PlayStation and Sega Saturn. There was also a PC version, but you never heard anyone talk about it, and that's because it only came out in Japan. And you know what? Japan always gets the cool stuff. Regardless, some could say that when it came out, a lot of people were shocked, honestly, at Capcom's decision. At the time of its development, many companies were pushing for game developers to create their games utilizing the 3D capabilities of the new hardware they were pushing out. People like Sony almost not even letting the game release due to it being 3D. And you know what? That trend continues today because PlayStation 5, I don't know, I guess there's a bit on Twitter that PlayStation has no games, but I digress. Capcom's struggle to release this game, however, was well worth it, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the world is glad that this game was kept in 2D and not made 3D like the rest of the games at the time. You know, this game actually looks good for the time, unlike 3D games at the time, which look like caca nowadays, but like, you know, look at Mega Man. It looks good, even though I'm playing it on a PS1. In fact, Capcom tried to do a 3D Mega Man game with the release of Mega Man X7 for the PS2, and, well, let me put it like this. Even if you don't know about Mega Man, I think we all know how that one turned out. To put it frank, it burned to the ground. Alright, time for a brief history lesson because I decided to choose the 4th game in a spin-off series to start talking about Mega Man. In short, Mega Man is a franchise that got its start with 2D platformers on the Nintendo Entertainment System, or the NES for short. The franchise had 6 entries on the NES, continuing into the Super Nintendo's lifetime. Hell, the 6th game released on the NES in 1993, 2 years after the SNES had already come out. And by the way, I'm using the Japanese releases because I play these games in Japanese, so you're just gonna have to suck it up. While Capcom was busy developing the 6th game, however, they were busy, hard at work, with a spin-off series, Mega Man X. And despite that name, you know, X, it's not the 10th franchise in its own series. It's the 1st game in its own series under the same franchise, and now I remember why I don't explain Mega Man to anyone. The X games control largely the same as the classic games, although X here has the ability to dash, rapidly increasing the speed of the game. And you know what? I am so funny, rapidly. Continuing with the similarities, once you defeat a boss in a Mega Man game, you gain their power or ability, and I don't have a witty reference to use here, so I don't really know what to tell you. Unlike X, whose playstyle is more ranged, Zero requires you to get up close and personal with the foe, a change that makes such a big difference that I consider playing this game as Zero as a hard mode. Playing as Zero gives you a 3-hit combo when you're on the ground, but there's also this cool thing you can do where you hit the normal attack and the dash button in succession to each other for a move that absolutely melts boss health if you do it right. Thanks to the up close and personal factor of Zero, however, this game can sometimes be difficult as fuck to get through. The fight with Cyber Peacock is so shit, I swear it took like 20 tries. The fight with Jet Stinger was also pretty bad, because you have to be in a specific spot to even have a chance to hit the dude, not to mention you're all up in his face while he's shooting shit. The fight with the mushroom is also pretty bad, because of the charge up of the Raijingeki, the technique obtained by Zero when you defeat Web Spider. That's another thing about Zero. You don't get weapons from defeating each boss, you get techniques, which are like smash attacks in the way that you do a directional input followed by the smash button to activate them. However, not every boss gives Zero an offensive technique, instead giving him ability upgrades or saber upgrades, making some bosses pretty hard to deal with in combination with the face riding. This fight later in the game also sucks butt, but I promise you if you play as Zero, you're gonna have a blast. Just prepare yourself for some deep shit first. While the original classic series follows robots in the years 20XX, the X series moves forward a whole century, probably, to 21XX. With the turn of the century means the turn of some new technology, am I right? Guys, iPhone 2007, iPhone 4 2010. That was a crazy update. The X series follows Reploids, which are like robots, but the key difference being that they have free will and thought processes like us humans. So they can scratch their arms like this. Like how there's people in the real world, or the heroes in My Hero Academia, what a crazy reference. There's a force to stop the wrongdoings of the quirky Reploids who think they're the shit. The Maverick Hunters. Maverick Hunters are the substantially large group of Reploids that, as the name suggests, hunts the Reploids that are actively a threat to the safety and well-being of humans and other Reploids. And that's where X and Zero fall. They're Maverick Hunters. Where did I learn all of that? The Maverick Hunter X OVA, the likes of which you can find in both English and Japanese with subtitles on YouTube. Isn't that so crazy? Moving forward to X4, X and Zero are now very skilled at their job and are dilly-dallying, I guess, when a new, definitely not evil force comes around, calling themselves Reploforce. Dude, Reploids, Force, they're so original with their names. Reploforce themselves aren't truly evil, but they get collectively branded as Maverick, and they decide to commit to the bit and ruin the world. Or whatever. I don't know, they start taking over cities like Tokyo. Thanks to this, your choice of X or Zero have to go through the 8 Maverick stages like the other classic series, and the X series games before this. And let me just get these out of the way in order that I played them. Web Spider stage is the jungle stage, and that's about all it has going for it. There's a section of the stage where there's a bunch of overlays I thought was pretty cool, and the section where the light capsule is located was pretty cool too. I won't lie, I did have a dumb moment when I went to this capsule originally, and I started talking to Dr. Light, but I didn't actually hop in the capsule, so I went the whole playthrough until the Sigma stages without the upgrade, so fucking GG. Split Mushroom stage, I don't even know what this is, maybe like a factory or something? There's a long stairway section that I honestly felt like it was filler. There was a long vertical section that I don't really care about, a mini boss that I honestly was mostly AFK for, and that's only half the stage. There's another long vertical section, this one being an auto scroller, and I ate sand here because what the fuck is this block shit? Split Mushroom himself is a cakewalk with his weakness, like the rest of the bosses in the game, hence why I used the Buster for a few of them. Cyber Peacock stage takes place in cyberspace, fitting, apparently, which is pretty cool, I guess. The first part of the stage is essentially a speed run, with you having to go through the 3 sections fast enough to get an S rank to obtain useful upgrades. If you get an S tank in the second section, for example, you get a sub tank, which fill over time and allow you to refill your health when you need it. A heart tank for the first section, and the armor upgrade for the third section. The second part of the stage has a gravity flip gimmick along the lines of Mega Man 5's Gravity Man stage, and we're at the boss. Storm Owl stage is an Air Force base, and I think that the stage is pretty cool. To get the heart tank in this stage, you have to be fast enough to grab it from under a laser that destroys the platform. And let me tell you about this section in part 2 of the stage. Oh my fucking god. To get the armor upgrade here, you have to make this jump. I swear, upon further inspection, this jump has to be impossible. I swear, I didn't remember this jump being as hard as it was when I played it on the 3DS. But you know what? Who cares? It took like 9 tries to get the damn jump right. Now once you make the stupid jump, you have the choice of 2 arm upgrades. The one on the right gives you the capability to have a slightly longer charge, but hold fully charged blasts for as long as you don't use them. That was weird. And with the one on the left giving you the ability for 1 massive charge shot that lingers in place afterwards. Yeah, only one charge shot. What a fucking loser. Magma Dragoon stage was alright. Just a bunch of platforming challenges in the depths of a volcano. The armor and heart tanks are pretty well hidden, if you don't know where to look. A few far jumps and you're there though. Everyone hypes up the part at the end of the stage with the ride armor you can take to the fight, which was just alright in my opinion, I don't know. Dragoon wasn't actually evil. Despite the scene at the start of the game where he sends the thing down onto that city, he simply just wanted to fight with X or Zero. And you know what? Fair enough. I also find it funny that not only did he explode off screen, his fucking torn torso teleported to the other side of the screen. Like, if he could just do that, why did he die in the first place? Frost Wallace's stage is an ice stage, that's for sure. The start of this one is pretty fast paced due to the ice slopes in abundance, but yeah, I don't know. Before that, however, is a totally secret path at the start of the stage. If you go up here and use the electric web, however, you can get the special tank, increasing the default amount of lives from 2 to 4, essentially doubling your life count, even though it doesn't matter because of the checkpoint system here. And before we move to the second part of the stage, we have this Ice Claw mini boss, which I honestly didn't want to deal with and just mash the fire weapon at. The second part of the stage starts with a bunch of rooms filled with ice blocks that you blast through to continue through the stage. During one of these ice rooms, however, you can find the weapons tank if you know where to look, like the other upgrade. After the ice rooms is a long hallway, which I thought was pretty annoying, and finally, the boss room. Frost Wallace is pretty easy, even without his weakness. Definitely a 10 out of 10 boss for someone like me who's simply just bad at video games. Jet Stingray's stage was dumb. Most of the stage is just filler, basically with all of it being completed on a ride chaser, like a little electric bike. And as such, the upgrades on this one are also dumb to get. The heart tank tests your instincts to jump, and the stupid sub tank is another one of those jumps that I swear is impossible. Either I jump too high or too low. Slash Beast stage is literally just a train, but a cool one. You run through the train and reach another one of the filler mini bosses and move forward. The heart tank in this one being cool because it's hidden in one of the train sections that you have to destroy with the ride arbor. Overall, a good stage, and I like Slash Beast as a boss because it actually gave me some challenge with the Buster. The Fortress stages in this game are pretty good, definitely more consistent than the Maverick stages, but that's not really hard. The first stage has a good usage of special weapons, ending with you fighting Colonel, a character, that's his name, who we'll talk more about later. The second Fortress stage is short and full of these chunky motherfuckers who are stupid annoying to get by, and I mostly just rushed by in combination with these other stupid fucks, leading to a fight with Double at the end. Yeah, remember that guy you saw at the start telling you all the information about the bosses at the start of the game? Yeah, his name is Double, because he's a double agent. Funny how that works out. Anyway, you get that guy, and the stage is over. The third stage is one of those run-of-the-mill stages that I don't really have a problem with, other than the pathway splitting in this one. Despite there being more of these dumb fucks, I prefer to go down the bottom path, because look at this bullshit from the top path. I don't even die here. The stage ends with you fighting the general, also his name, and I honestly just hugged the wall in this one. The final stage is the boss rush, which lengthens the game further, and I didn't want to deal with it, so I just used the weaknesses to get over with. Once you complete the boss rush successfully, you get to fight Sigma, who turns out to be controlling Rebel Force the whole time. Shocker. The first form with the cloak is really easy with the rising fire, and the second form, from what I can gather, takes a good amount of damage from the electric web, and I forgot how to dodge lasers here, so I just kind of ate that damage up. The fight continues with the floor bursting from under your feet because you're a big back robot, and you fight the true anomaly that Sigma is in this game. Unsurprisingly, this fight is the most difficult part of the battle, with there being two distinct forms with their own health bars. Oh, I fucking hate them, along with the Power Ranger wannabes being there to do extra damage. After that's over, the day is saved, I guess. Yippee! Time to talk about my favorite part, the stories of these games, which I like, actually. Other Mega Man games may have some bits and pieces of stories, but for the most part, there isn't much to them, except for the games following this, which built upon what happened here. X's story is really simple and short, so we're gonna get that out of the way before we move to the developer's secret love child, Zero. You know, despite his journeys, X has seen those who have had seemingly good hearts been manipulated and used, becoming Maverick in the process, just like that, just like Thanos snapped into becoming Maverick and evil. In fact, you may notice that some bosses had different health bars, with those being the ones that had no dealings with Rebel Force beforehand, and were manipulated by Sigma into helping use Rebel Force to destroy the world or something. Ultimately, all being pawns in Sigma's game of checkers. Fortunately for us, X was playing chess, and after defeating Sigma, he's coming back, making his way back to Earth, and he thinks to himself, what if he himself becomes Maverick, just like everyone he's seen in the past that had good hearts? He calls up the love child Zero and tells him,
Na, Zero. もし俺がイレギュラー化したらどうする？
くだらないことを聞くんじゃない。切るぞ。
待ってくれ。真剣に聞きたいんだ。ゼロ。もし俺がイレギュラー化したら君が処理してくれ。
バカなこと言ってないでさっさと戻ってこい。
約束だよ。ゼロ。
Moving on to the clearly more interesting story, we have Zero, and there's a fucking, I didn't know earthquakes happened in Florida. His campaign follows the same idea as X's gameplay-wise, going through the stages to ultimately fight with Sigma and his goons. His story starts with a flashback of Zero being in a capsule, taking a snooze, or something, I don't fucking know. He wakes up and sees the silhouette of Dr. Wowie in front of some light, asking who he is. Dr. Wily explains that he created Zero to defeat the original Mega Man from the classic series. That blue guy, that little child, that little baby boy, who had been utterly shitting on Dr. Wily the whole time. Zero's confused, and the flashback ends with Zero going Super Saiyan. Zero snaps back to reality to hear the emergency announcement about the happenings at the Sky Lagoon from the intro stage, and once he's there, he deals with it accordingly. Just like X having to fight the dragon. There's a Reploid being attacked by the dragon, however, and it's none other than the maiden, Iris. Zero's lovey-dovey, whatever or you want to call it. I don't know. He saves her from the dragon monster, as cliche as that is, and Colonel, the guy from earlier, comes down and says that he came to save Iris, along with Reproforce, who appears to be his sister. Zero and Colonel talk about the attack, with Maverick Hunter HQ being under the assumption that Reproforce was responsible for the attack, and tells Colonel to drop his and Reproforce's weapons. He says no, however, and proceeds to say that his honor and pride, along with that of Reproforce, will not be damaged by lowering their arms. Zero believes, however, that if they don't drop their arms, the entirety of Reproforce will be labeled as a Maverick organization. We move forward to a scene directly following this, with the general, also from before, giving a speech, detailing that Zero's hypothesis was right, and Reproforce was labeled as Maverick, and I just stuttered really bad. He then states that they must forge their own utopia and move forward as a nation in order to honor their pride, liberty, and security of Reproforce, with Colonel agreeing. America! The camera cuts to a strange figure, once again, very obviously Sigma, who monologues about Reproforce being drawn to his plan like moths to a flame. Back at headquarters, Iris is there to tell Zero that her brother had started a coup along with Reproforce and pleads with Zero not to fight him, as a sister would do, saying that it was definitely a mistake and they had already taken over some major cities. Iris, look, if you didn't want Zero to go fight your brother, why would you tell him that they'd already taken over major cities? After finishing 4 stages, just like in X's story, Zero has to have a showdown with Colonel. He returns to their headquarters and once again finds Iris, who tells Zero that she had received a message from Reproforce. She plays the message for her and Zero to hear, with Colonel telling Zero to go to the memorial hall, and saying that he'd be there, implying a fight. Iris tells Zero not to go, and not to fight her brother if he does, and lo and behold, he does it anyway. Great job, Zero. Once at the memorial hall, Zero calls out to Colonel, telling him that it isn't too late to stop the coup, and demands that Colonel calls it off. Colonel refuses, however, leading to Zero jumping down and initiating a fight with him. The battle is shortly lived, however, as I guess Iris had a hunch or something that they would fight, and she rushed over to the hall, with her hunch being right. She tells her brother to stop fighting with Zero, and asking if he had forgotten that he'd saved her life. Colonel decides that she's right, choosing the dialogue option to make himself sound cooler, and it just doesn't work. She then turns to Zero, who she tells to stop because if they continue fighting, she's afraid that one of them may end up killed. And I think that's crazy foreshadowing. Zero continues through the Maverick stages and the first Sigma stage or whatever, coming to the end and facing the same boss as X did, Colonel. Zero wins out in the end, and Colonel tells Zero to tell Iris that her brother died happily and meets his end, which is honestly kind of sad. Zero goes through the short bullshit stage that contained double in X's story, only to be met by Iris. "You fought with my brother, even though I told you not to," she says to Zero, with him apologizing. "It's over. Everything is over," she says. "Calm down, Iris, please, just listen to me," he says, pleading with her. "Goodbye, Zero," she says. Armor materializes around her, and the two fight, with Zero being the winner, unsurprisingly. This leads to the scene that was low-key made better in the dub due to the 10 out of 10 quality voice acting.
No, this isn't happening. There's no reason for me to go on. What am I fighting for?
Just kidding. Here's the actual Japanese version from the game I played.
アイリス
ゼロ
しっかりしろアイリス
お願いもうレプリフォースに手を出さないで一緒にレプリロイドだけの世界で暮らしましょう
アイリスレプリロイドだけの世界なんて幻だ
そうよねでも信じたかったレプリロイドだけの世界であなたと
アイリスアイリスアイリスアイリスアイリスアイリスアイリス俺は一体何のために戦っているんだ
Not much happens between Zero and the General, so he continues to the final area, leading to his encounter with Sigma. Sigma and Zero have a conversation, in which Zero says that Sigma made him kill Iris and her brother, with him retorting, with Zero's heart wanting to do that in the first place, and a cutscene to when they first met. In the English version of this game, Sigma follows the cutscene with, "Wait, you were a Maverick?" after literally telling Zero that he was a Maverick in animated video format. But I digress. Once you defeat Sigma in either ending, General sacrifices himself to destroy the space colony and have it not destroy her. Hence, why X was flying back in outer space in his ending. When this happens to Zero, however, he has a completely different reaction from X's. He questions if that's who he really is, and even if it may not seem like it, he thinks, in the end, he couldn't save anyone. More specifically, the apparent love of his life, Iris. But that's Mega Man X4! It's a great game and I definitely enjoyed it, but I also did play this game on a 3DS, so I don't know. I like Mega Man a lot, so I'm glad I did get to take a dive into this game for a video. Plus, I liked playing it a while ago and I needed an excuse to play it again. So, thanks for watching, that's all I have to say, and remember, stay Mega!